The Steelers, I don't even listen. They are my team. They are my babies. The Steelers, I'm riding. I will always ride for the Steelers. I will always ride with the Steelers. But sometimes you have to look at your team and accept them for what they actually are, not for what you want them to be. Because the truth is, the Steelers offense, 17 points. What are you supposed to do with that? And yes, Wilson wasn't very good. And yes, we didn't look that great. And yes, we had opportunities, but we turned the ball over and it just ended up being blah. But I think this is who the Steelers are. I think the issue is that the Steelers are better than they were last year. I've heard this before. This sounds similar to the Colorado fan base. The Steelers were better than they were last year, and they might win more games than they did last year. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're a great football team. It just means that they're better than they were last year. And I don't know. There's so many things that I want to say about the Steelers team, but honestly, this game, in my personal opinion, is on Russell Wilson. I think Wilson, his 2 turnovers were costly. You can't have a pick 6 and you can't turn the ball over in the red zone like he did when all he had to do was slide. He didn't have to be the hero. He could have slid, but he didn't. And so his 2 turnovers ended up leading to 2 scores. So you can argue and say, yeah, but the defense gave up a 94-yard whatever. But the problem is we were on the road. And when you're on the road, it's harder to come back from certain things because you're on the road. That's what happens when you're on the road. That's why Wilson shouldn't have fumbled the football. The other thing is I hated watching the Steelers and Texas right next to each other. It was too much. It was too anxious. It was super exciting and super my team would the Steelers would do something good and then Texas wouldn't. And then Texas would do something good and the Steelers wouldn't. It was too hard for me and I didn't love it, but it just kind of was what it was. And I also found out that there's just some things that this Steelers team just isn't very good at. But let me get to the other side of this video and talk about some things I saw during this game that I'm going to carry with me for the next 4 days because we play the Kansas City Chiefs in 4 days. So let me just get into this video. So here we are. We've now lost 2 games in a row. We are already in the playoffs, but it is time for us to figure out who we want to be. We are now on a 2-game losing streak. What are we going to do? Are we going to be the type of team that's going to step up to the challenge? Are we going to be one of those type of teams that's like, well, we're just playing teams that are better than us, so it just kind of is what it is? I don't know who the Steelers team wants to be or who we're going to be. And so it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen as we move forward. Now, is the sky falling? No. We're in the playoffs. We're where we're supposed to be. We're missing a lot of key guys on defense on defense and offense, quite frankly, that can play at any moment, which is fine. However, you cannot keep winning. You cannot keep playing football games with this offense. This offense is bad. I don't even know how else to call it. I don't even know what else to say about it because it's just bad. We don't know when we're going to score. We don't know if we're going to turn the ball over. We don't know what we're going to do. And we have just played 2 really good football teams. And when you play really good football teams, you get to see who you really are. And we are seeing who we really are. We're a defense that is average at best. Our secondary is awful. And our offense, we don't really know what we're going to get. We can run the ball pretty well, but then Russell Wilson is having all these turnovers. And so let's be honest here. I think Russell Wilson has had a turnover in every game dating back to the last few weeks. Maybe last week, I wouldn't count Harris's fumble as Wilson's fumble, but if you go back, I'm pretty sure Russell Wilson has turned the ball over at least one time every game. That is a glaring problem. Also, for those of you that were wondering why I was so annoyed by the Cleveland Browns loss, this is why. You can't afford to lose to bad teams when we don't know if you can beat good teams. We are not a great football team right now. We are a better than average football team right now. And so that is why you cannot lose to the Cleveland Browns. We missed that opportunity. We lost to Cleveland. And now the only way we win the AFC North is if we beat the Chiefs and if we beat the Bengals. That's it. There's no other path. We blew it. It is our fault. This is who we are. So let me just talk about a couple of things that I noticed in this game that are going to probably haunt me as the season goes on. But at the end of the day, sometimes when your team shows you who they are and you see their limitations and you see the things that they're not able to do, you just have to accept it. I can't ignore it. We just are what we are. There's a couple of things in this game that are just kind of sticking with me. Obviously, George Pickens not being out there, that was a thing. I will always wonder what we would do differently if Justin Fields was out there, but obviously Justin Fields was injured as well, so he wasn't there. So there's just like a lot of things that happened in this game where I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I mean, the good news is we were 2 for 2 in the red zone, which is great because that's unlike the Steelers. But obviously, I already talked about the 2 turnovers. So what do you do with that? I believe that they rushed for 220 yards on offense. Like our defense gave up 220 rushing yards. That is not great. You're not going to beat anybody in the NFL if your defense is going to give up 220 rushing yards. So not great. This, in my opinion, was a total team loss. Everything about us is not good right now. I felt the same way after the Eagles game where I was just kind of like, that was a really great football team and we got to see who we were and we weren't much of anything. And so I'm kind of feeling that way right now. The other thing that is kind of annoying too is in the first quarter, the Lamar Jackson, we almost had a strip sack on him. We didn't. I believe they go to score a touchdown on that drive. And then on the special teams kick, we fumbled the ball, did all the things, and we couldn't pick up the ball. So the ball hits the ground 2 times. The Steelers aren't able to pick up the ball. Well, that's actually funny because that happened in the Dallas Cowboy game as well early in the season. So my point is, sometimes when your team continues to do the same things over and over and over, that is actually who your team is. As fans, we have to decide if we're going to believe that that's who our team is, if we're going to continue to convince ourselves it was a fluke. We have issues. This Steelers team has issues. And I just want to say this, and this is with all due respect to Wilson. I don't know if I'm going to say this right, but Russell Wilson adds value to the Steelers offense. I'm not going to say he doesn't add value to the Steelers offense because he does add value. My problem, though, is the value that he adds almost goes away when he turns the ball over. And if our defense cannot bail out his turnovers, they're worse. So if you go back and look at any Steelers games from now until from the last, since Russell Wilson started to play, anytime he has had turnovers, most of the time our defense is able to make up for his turnovers. He'll turn the ball over, he'll fumble, he'll do something. Our defense comes out on the field, is able to do whatever. We get the ball back and it's a moot point. However, what has started to happen is as we've started to turn the ball over when we're playing better teams, our defense can't do anything with that because our defense was just out on the field. So I'm not saying Russell Wilson is the reason why we're losing, but he's also not helping us when we're losing, if that makes sense. I think that's the best way to put this. The other thing that's also kind of frustrating too is seeing how hard TJ Watt is working and seeing how hard Cam Hayward is working and seeing some of these older guys go in there and give it their all. And we're just not good enough. The Pittsburgh Steelers just aren't good enough. I don't know what's going to happen in the playoffs. I don't even know who we're going to play. It's kind of too early to even figure that out, but I have concerns. I have honest concerns about this football team. And because on my channel, I am honest, I'm not a fangirl. I don't fan over everything. I don't say everything is great when it's not great. And I don't think everything is great. The other thing I feel like Wilson is doing is I think he's escaping the pocket sometimes before the pocket is actually collapsing. Now, I'm not here to say that we have a great offensive line because we have a young offensive line and we're working and we're growing. But there's just a lot of things that I'm seeing with this offense that I don't trust it. I don't think this offense is very good at all. And so I'm not impressed with this offense. I don't think it's good. I see a lot of things that go wrong in this offense and that's troubling. And then I think what happens when your offense is kind of subpar, your defense starts being subpar because you're on the field too much. Too many 3 and outs. Too many situations where the defense gets a stop and they get off the field and they were on the field for 5 minutes or 4 minutes. They get off the field and then they get a 3 and out and they have to go back out in the field. Now, everybody needs to be accountable for this. Every single person on the Pittsburgh Steelers team needs to be accountable for how they're playing and they need to be accountable for doing their jobs. These guys are getting paid millions of dollars to do their jobs. They have to start doing their jobs. There's no other way to put it. Every single person has to do their job individually. If you can do your job individually as a team, it will come together. But honestly, we're also just probably a really good average team. So we're like the pillar of consistency. The one thing about the Steelers is we're going to be consistent. We are consistent. We're not terrible. We're not great. We're just very consistent. We just kind of do our thing. We do everything pretty middle of the road and you never know what you're going to get from us. And I don't even know what to say, honestly. I've been complaining this whole year about the schedule and what's coming up, and we're in the thick of it. And so now in 4 days, we get to get ready to play the Kansas City Chiefs. And I don't know what this Steelers team is going to do, but I can tell you that this Steelers team doesn't look that great. This Steelers team, my expectations for this Steelers team actually right now is not a lot of anything, because I just don't know what to expect. I don't know what this defense is going to give me. I don't know what this offense is going to give me. I don't really know what is going to happen with the Steelers team, but the one thing I do know is if we have to kick a field goal, Chris Boswell is probably going to make the field goal. And that's the best thing the Steelers have going for them right now. It's Chris Boswell. My hair's getting all tangled, but that's the best thing the Steelers have going for them right now is Chris Boswell. And he's consistent. And yeah, he made a mistake today, but it wasn't on kicking a field goal. It was on kickoff. And so listen, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to tell you. We're going to have another game in 4 days. So we have 4 days to figure it out, whatever we can figure out in 4 days. But at this point, I'm honestly just hoping that we get back some of our injured players and to see if that makes a difference, because right now I don't know what the Steelers team is. All I know is they're my team and I'm riding with them, but I don't know what they are and I don't know what to expect from them. So I'm just kind of here for the ride. I'm just going to enjoy every second of it. And honestly, that's really all I have to say. So thank you for watching this video. If you have any comments or anything to say, please let me know in the comment section below. If you make it to the end of this video, don't forget to drop me a note so that I know that you made it to the end of this video, or drop me an emoji, drop me something in the comment section just so I know that you made it. Even if you just drop one single emoji, I will know that from that emoji that you have made it to the end of this video. But I will see you all very soon, because my Steelers play in a few days against the Chiefs. So I need to make another video. But as always, here we go.